Russia has recalled its U.S. ambassador for talks to prevent the irreversible deterioration of relations with the United States. The Russian government says Anatoly Antonov was called back as ties with Washington have reached a blind alley. In a statement, a foreign ministry spokesperson said the Kremlin will consult with Antonov to figure out what to do next. Earlier, U.S. President Joe Biden called Vladimir Putin a killer. He said the Russian president will pay the price for meddling in the 2020 presidential election. His remarks followed an intelligence report accusing Putin of authorizing an interference campaign in U.S. polls. Brazil has reported its record high number of daily COVID-19 cases with 90,300 testing positive overnight. Globally, there are 2.6 million deaths and more than 121 million infections. More on the pandemic in this report.
Record spikes in deaths and cases and mutating variants are making the second COVID March even more devastating. In the United States, 2 strains first detected in California state were officially declared as variants of concern. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden's administration announced a new $2.25 billion initiative to address health equity issues related to COVID-19. Over in the South, Chile recorded an alarming increase in hospitalizations amid reports that the vaccination drive encouraged the public to disregard SOPs. Meanwhile, medical staff in Brazil's Sao Paulo state are facing increasing pressure as cases rise to record highs.
There is a waiting list at practically all hospitals with ICU beds, as people know. This creates a problem for health workers because we are already tired. And we have been doing this for a year now, so it causes additional stress. The stress of knowing that we are not helping everyone who needs us. The stress of knowing that when a patient leaves, I already have 4, 5, 6 or even more patients. Depending on the hospital you are in, your queue is bigger or small. But there are always waiting lists at all hospitals.
The European Union is considering allowing its 450 million people vaccinated or not to travel freely across the bloc within months. Poland has announced nationwide restrictions as the daily tally of new cases reached the highest levels this year. Meanwhile, Britain is set to see a glitch in its vaccination drive due to a cut in the manufacturing supply. Foreign Minister Dominic Raab accused the European Commission of brinkmanship over its threat to ban exports of COVID-19 vaccines.
Well, I think it takes some explaining because the world's watching. We've, all of us, including with our European friends, been saying throughout the pandemic that it would be wrong to curtail or interfere with lawfully contracted supply. We all said it last year on PPE. We've been saying it this year on vaccines and other things.
Over in Asia, Japan has approved a plan not to extend the state of emergency imposed in Tokyo, set to expire on 21st of March. Taiwan has completed checks on its first batch of AstraZeneca vaccines and the first administrations may start soon.
Pakistan's Minister of Planning and Development says there has been a sharp spike in COVID-19 cases in the country. In a tweet, Asad Umar said the number of hospitalization and people in critical care is increasing fast. Umar said if SOP's compliance does not improve, the government will be forced to place stronger restrictions. This comes as Pakistan registered its largest single-day surge in months as nearly 3,500 people tested positive overnight. The health ministry said 61 people lost their lives to the virus in the last 24 hours. It said the number of deaths has risen 13,717. The ministry added nearly 616,000 cases has been detected so far, out of which more than 577,000 people have recovered. In Mali, 33 soldiers were killed and 40 others wounded in an attack on a military convoy in the Gao region. In a statement, the army said 20 assailants out of around 100 were killed. It said the assailants ambushed the procession in the country's volatile north. The army said the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali helped evacuate the wounded soldiers, while the French mission helped secure the area. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack so far. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. will consider both diplomatic and pressure options against North Korea. This comes hours after Pyongyang ruled out any talks until Washington changed its hostile policies. Blinken said Washington will complete its North Korea policy review in the coming weeks. He made the remarks at a briefing after a meeting with South Korean officials in Seoul. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was also present at the meeting. In a joint statement, both sides vowed to work together on issues including climate change, the pandemic, and North Korea. Earlier, Pyongyang criticized Washington's attempts to make contact, calling it a cheap trick. The Arab coalition in Yemen says the Houthis have misinterpreted the U.S. decision to remove the group from the terrorist organization's list. In an interview, coalition spokesperson Brigadier General Turki al-Maliki said this has led to an increased Houthi attacks. He said Houthis are the first terrorist group that has obtained ballistic missiles, UAVs, cruise missiles, and bomb-laden USVs. He added the Houthis want to practice their ideology and malign activity under the umbrella of a Yemeni government. Representatives of 14 Palestinian factions have signed a code of honor to accept the results of the upcoming parliamentary elections. The groups, including Fatah and Hamas, agreed to strengthen national unity in the second round of intra-national dialogue in Egypt. In a statement, the leaders said they will ensure high transparency for the electoral process in the Palestinian territories. They also agreed on completing the formation of Palestinian Unified Leadership on Popular Resistance. President Mahmoud Abbas announced to hold legislative, presidential, and national councils election in Palestine after 16 years. Kuwait's Foreign Minister Sheikh Dr. Ahmed Nasser Al Mohammed Al Sabah has arrived in Pakistan on a two-day visit. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi received the visiting dignitary in Islamabad. Al Sabah planted a sapling at the Foreign Office in Islamabad alongside Qureshi. The Kuwaiti delegation includes senior officials from the Ministries of Foreign Affairs, Health, Interior, and Trade and Industry. Ukraine and Canada have rejected an Iranian report into last year's shooting down of a Ukrainian airliner that killed 176 people. Many of the victims were Canadian citizens or permanent residents. In a statement, Canada's government said the report appears to be incomplete and missing hard facts. It said the report did not attempt to answer critical questions about what truly happened. The government said Ottawa will soon disclose the results of its investigations. Earlier, Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba also rejected the report, calling it a cynical attempt to hide the truth. Kuleba said Iran's probe did not follow international practice and ignored evidence supplied by Ukraine. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has appointed Jean Arnault as his personal envoy on Afghanistan. The veteran French diplomat will also assist the UN chief on regional issues. UN spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric said the appointment will assist in achieving a political solution to the conflict. In a statement, Dujarric said Arnault will work closely with the UN Assistance Mission in Afghanistan and regional partners. He added the United Nations aims to best support the people of Afghanistan in reaching peace. Meanwhile, China, US, Pakistan, Qatar, and Afghan delegations are set to meet in Moscow to discuss the Afghan peace process. Prime Minister Mark Rutte has claimed an overwhelming victory in national elections in the Netherlands. Exit polls show Rutte's Liberal Party has won the most seats in Parliament after the socially distant three-day vote. Rutte told reporters in Parliament that voters have given his party an overwhelming vote of confidence. Being one of the longest-serving prime ministers in Europe, Rutte said he has the energy to serve for another 10 years. His ally, the pro-EU D66, emerged as the second-largest party. Meanwhile, the party of Islamophobe and xenophobic leader Geert Wilders lost ground to move into third place. More news stories coming up after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. India's capital, New Delhi, has once again been declared the world's most polluted capital by a Swiss air quality company. Residents have expressed their discontent while saying these outcomes are a result of their faults. More in this report. Smog-covered buildings, congested roads, and the contaminated Yamuna River have turned the life of Delhi residents into a living nightmare. This has been depicted in the report of the Swiss group IQAir, which named New Delhi the world's most polluted capital for the third straight year. The report's findings are based on the measurement of the concentration of airborne pollutants called PM 2.5.
आश्चर्यचकित तो नहीं होना चाहिए हमें. We should not be surprised at all. Delhi residents are reaping what they sowed. So if we are number one on the list of most polluted national capitals in the world, then we are the ones responsible for it.
Prolonged exposure to the toxic PM 2.5 particles can lead to deadly diseases, including cancer and cardiac problems. As per a combined study of Greenpeace Southeast Asia analysis and IQAir, air pollution caused an estimated 54,000 premature deaths in New Delhi in 2020 alone.
It is getting difficult even to breathe in peace. This is especially harmful to little children, patients with respiratory issues, and heart patients. Dust is the most annoying. Road construction is not proper. Broken roads everywhere are the main contributor to it. The heaps of garbage are breeding ground for disease as well. They are posing many problems for the residents.
According to IQAir, New Delhi's average annual concentration of PM 2.5 in a cubic meter of air for 2020 was a devastating 84.1. Skydiving is considered to be one of the world's most thrilling sports. However, two Polish daredevils have gone an extra mile and created an aerial competition utilizing the sport and skateboarding. Details in the following report.
Maya Kuchanska and her compatriot race pilot Lukas Chepelia put their own unique spin on a skateboarding classic. The result is an incredible aerial competition called the Game of AIR. In the mountains of Slovenia, Kuchanska jumped from a plane equipped with just a skydiving suit and a parachute, while Chepelia flew right next to her in his Extra 300 plane.
Well, the Game of AIR is something that we came up, and it's a robotic aircraft doing tricks against the skydiver. I don't think something like this has been done ever before. There's been a robotic aircraft flying around skydivers, but they were in the wingsuit. So to do it with someone who doesn't have a wingsuit on and has much, much higher vertical rates.
The pair simultaneously performed spectacular aerobatic maneuvers in a bid to outdo each other. AIR is based on the game of skate, where the participants set tricks for each other to complete. A mistake results in the participants gaining one letter from the word, and the first one to get all letters loses.
Game of Air was inspired by the game of skate, which is a very popular game amongst skaters. It involves two people, or I guess more people, where they compete against each other and they show a trick, and after that trick the other person tries to do the same trick, and if they do not work out, they get one letter from the word. So in the skater version there's the word skate, we have the word air, and I'm pretty excited.
It was pilot Chepelia who lost this time around, failing to complete a flip twist and collecting the letter R.
Most stocks in Europe have hedged higher. Investors are reacting to the U.S. Federal Reserve Committee's decision to keep short-term borrowing rates near zero. Frankfurt DAX is leading the gains, rising close to 1%. At least FTSE MIB, Pan-European Stock 600, and the CAC in Paris have also gained marginally. But London's FTSE has slid fractionally under the flat line. Earlier, almost all Asian markets advanced with the exception of Australian shares. Now it's time to have a look at the weather update across the globe. the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.